Everything is chaos.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Cass.
Hi, I'm Kayle.
Welcome to Rooted. This is episode 2.
Dose.
Okay. Intro done.
We'll crop that later.
Yeah. It's here. We got it. Okay. So I'm grumpy today.
Me too.
I'm grumpy. So there's that, which is a fun time to do a podcast.
There's something about this too. I've been grumpy for like 3 days, I feel like. And I think there's a lull between Christmas ending and New Year's happening.
Yeah.
Where like our idle hands and mind are just the devil's playground.
For sure.
And I think because as parents, leading up to Christmas, we are in 100 miles an hour, pinch every penny, make sure we can do all the things for the kids, make sure we have the tree. Like there's so many deliverables. There's so many line items we have to do in our minds, right? To make Christmas what we want it to be. And then it comes and then it's gone in 24 hours.
Right.
And you're like, okay, now what do I do with my hands? And New Year's isn't for a week.
Right.
So you're just in this like purgatory of existence, like between the emotional crash of Christmas and like figuring out if you even care about New Year's, you know?
Might be it.
There's some fatigue in that because ramping up for Christmas is a long race for a short day.
Yeah. One of the blogs that I'm writing for, not ours, but somebody else in the AWSA group that I'm in, and she had put out asking for some of our input, and she just called it the void. And I was like, that's exactly it. And it really is that we're in the void, and I am grumpy.
So the grump, how has that played out in parenting while maintaining your faith posture?
It's funny. I spent the day-ish writing a blog today, actually, and I had child visitors repeatedly. Obviously, we homeschool, but it's Christmas vacation, so I kind of figured they'd be doing their thing for part of the day. And I got more visitors, and really, I'm grateful for it, because I don't get enough time with the kids. I'm always doing something. And so the dream was write blogs, write a book, you do things that make you feel full, right? And get the time with the kids. But I am spent from Christmas, and I'm in the void, and I'm like, oh, man, I just need to, like, woosah and, like, hide.
You literally sent me a house for sale in France yesterday. I think you want a break.
It was built into a cliff, was the point. The wall was a cliff. Just saying. Anyway, I had a really good talk with Elijah today, and it started out...
That's our son.
Our oldest son. He's 14. I don't even remember why the conversation started, but it came up in conversation about what the blog I recently wrote was about. And we touched on this a little bit last episode, actually, where the little things in life can escalate, right, and become idols and things like that.
Sure.
And he said, so you mean kind of like the opposite, though, when I'm like, I go to work out, right? And like, I can only lift so much, but then I keep working out and I keep working out and I keep working out. So I explained to him, hey, you have a midnight snack, and then it turns into snacking every night, and now you're however many pounds, and you're a glutton, and you're unhappy with who you are.
But it started small.
And and so it all starts small, you know, it whatever it is, whether it leads to something that leads to an addiction, whether it's idolization,
sexual
all of
immorality.
all of those pieces. And so I was explaining the route of the little tiny sins that we measure as tiny, obviously, in our worldview, that serve as little mini gatekeepers to desensitize us until all of a sudden we look backwards and how did I get here? How did I become this person?
Yep.
And his retort in a positive way was just so inspiring. And I thought, you know, it's so funny how I spent the whole day thinking about all the little bad things that I need to pay attention to not fall into a deeper sin or whatever. But if I apply that same thought process to all the good things, like I start with one small devotional that's 1 page long, right? We fall out of reading our Bibles regularly or just being grateful, right? Thanksgiving was not that long ago.
Yeah.
And we're already past the I'm grateful for this. I'm like, I'm in the void and I'm grumpy. That's it.
Well, in our culture, we dedicate 1 out of every 365 days to say that we're grateful for stuff.
Right.
It's not a way of life. It's not a heart posture. We literally have to stop what we're doing to take a day to be thankful because it's not our default setting.
Right. And it was a heart check for me.
Sure.
because I am grumpy and the kids are getting under my skin. Meanwhile, our 5-year-old Hazel is making us really cute cards, and you know, Scarlett is busting her butt out there trying to make sure the dining room looks nice after many holidays of destruction that have happened. And rather than being grateful for how good our children are and the fact that we have any, and that there's a roof over our head, all of the things, I'm like, you know, I'm just frustrated. And Elijah made me kind of change my perspective in the way that he framed everything to look at the positive. And while he compared it to weightlifting, it really is that, you know, you start with your 1-page devotional to whatever, a Bible plan, to reading your Bible every day, and now you're really studying, and now you're writing blogs, and now you're writing a book, or now you're live on TikTok telling people about Jesus, whatever.
Well, and like, I think there's a couple things from that too that jump out. Look at your, not faith, because I don't know necessarily that your faith has changed, right? But look at the life that you live in how it's tied into your faith, right? Like the podcast we were watching last night with Philip Anthony Mitchell and them.
Yeah.
He was saying it's not enough to come into this building one day a week and say you have faith, to dance here, to sing here, and then walk out and not have a life to match.
Right.
If I look at your life 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the life you live today more closely matches your faith than it ever has before. Yeah. And you're not there yet. Like sanctification's a lifelong effort, right? But in the weightlifting example, you've been able to increase the weight that you're taking on in lifting, right? Spiritually, more and more and more. And the goal, as Paul tells Timothy, is that at the end of the race, we want to look as close to the person who pulled us out of the fire as we can. That's not going to happen in one day, right? Like weightlifting, it takes time. It takes the trials and the persecutions and the tribulations and the things that we have to endure so that our faith can grow and mature, so that one day we can just try to look as close as Jesus as we can in the life we live, not in our, like Philip Anthony Mitchell said, not in our external piety, right, but in our heart posture. And so that was one thing I was going to say on that, and I forgot the other two, so move on, and I'll come back and maybe. Oh, no, I know. One of the other things.
Notebook.
I was going to, oh, dude, it would be chicken scratch. It looked like a prescription pad. Yesterday I was out. I was in a TikTok live space, and it was like 8 different people in there, and like some people were on camera, some people weren't, some people were muted, some people weren't. It was just kind of like free for all, just hanging out kind of deal. And I noticed a couple of the people live down south, and so I turned my camera on as I was walking back from town, just on the ice roads, and everyone's like, "Is that snow? What is that?" And I like stepped in the ditch to show there was like 2.5 feet of snow, you know. And when I got back to the driveway, I propped my phone up and let them watch me shovel out that like good 2-foot ice slush nonsense at the end of the driveway, and it was cracking people up. And then it hit me, because like after, like it was one thing when we're all coking and joking, but when I left the live and it was just me, and like I wasn't listening to music, I ran out of coffee, it was just me and that shovel, I'm like, oh.
Still the same perspective?
No, I didn't. I was like, this sucks. I'm not having fun. And it's not like fluffy, light snow, right? Because we had snow and snow and snow.
Sleep.
And then it got above freezing. It rained, and then it froze, and it was like a icy outside, but feet of it. And like, it's heavy in a snow shovel.
Yeah.
You know, after the 400th shovel, my back's hurting, my knees are hurting. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, I have a couch inside right now. I could go make a coffee, go put my feet up. Why am I doing this right now?
Oh, so we can leave our driveway.
But that's so then I ended up making a video, because in that moment of like, ugh, I'm not having fun, I was like, you know what? No, we're reframing our perspective right now, and we're going to do it with people, right? I've been trying to frame the grump, the dissatisfaction, as I'm taking my thought life captive and submitting it to God. I'm like, let's do it together. Right. So I just started filming. I'm like, dude, I'm out here doing this, and I hate it. I caught myself like, why am I doing this? But then I feel like what got laid on me was, but look behind you. Look up the driveway. Right. Look what's at the end of this work. It's that shelter that your family gets to stay warm in this winter. Right. It's the place where your wife gets to bake the breads and make the meals that keep you alive. Like, there's hard work in all of these things. God doesn't just freely give us abundant blessings in our fleshly life, right? Like, our salvation is a gift, but he's not going to give until you've proven faithful with what you have.
Right.
And I don't mean that in like a prosperity gospel way. I mean, he'll give you the house, but it'll have a long driveway and you better be willing to put in the work.
Right.
And it's not just the driveway, right? Like that's all things that
Mm-hmm.
the Lord blesses us with require action, because love requires work. Love requires action, right? Even his gift to us of salvation, once he resurrected, came with, now go and make disciples of all nations, right? There is action in the gift that he gave us. And so I try to keep perspective in the voids, in the why are my kids being this loud? I think that's the best example as parents. I have not yet met a parent whose kid has not at some point driven them bananas.
Yeah.
Hazel is the greatest example of this. And being that she's my only living biological child, I don't mind poking at her a little bit. We affectionately call her, I at least affectionately call her, Hurricane Hazel. Yeah. She is a force. She breaks everything. She loses everything. She is the strongest 5-year-old girl on earth. But she loves deeper than any child I've ever met. And that dichotomy coexists, and it personifies all of faith and all of life. Like, how can something stress you out so bad but bring you such joy?
Yeah. Right?
How are all God's blessings so rich in mercy and grace, but come with trials and speed bumps and hiccups and temptations? And anyway, it just kind of all culminates, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's refinement, right?
Right.
I mean,
but in everything.
Right.
To the drive, from the driveway to the children to the job to marriage, like.
But that's kind of that's the sign that you're doing something right.
Yeah.
That God's working in your life.
Sure.
If you're not facing a struggle or your child's not interacting with you,
yeah.
Right, it would be super easy to put every kid on an iPad or a screen, push them to another room, have them not be a problem, if you will.
Yeah, wake me up when you're 18.
Wake me up later, and do whatever it is that we feel like doing.
Mm.
And she wouldn't feel so much like Hurricane Hazel, but we wouldn't have the relationships that we have with our children if we did that, right?
Yep.
And it's in all pieces. In shoveling the driveway. If we didn't have a home where it's struggle that allows us to change our perspectives and refines who we are, which leads to deeper sanctification.
Right.
As long as you're able to sit on it for a minute and really think on what you're supposed to be learning in the moment.
A lady commented on that video. It's only been up for like 24 hours, and there's been an influx of comments ranging from like, wow, I need that perspective shift, to some slightly more critical accountability-based ones towards me that I invite openly. One gal commented on there and she said, and I thank God for your able body, that you're able to shovel. And I was like, I didn't even think about it that way. I thought about the fact that my house, that is a blessing, has a driveway, do the driveway work for the house blessing. And she said, how about the fact that you can lift that shovel? How about the fact that you can stand at the end of that driveway and use your legs? Right. And I was like, how many people do we know that can't do that?
Right.
Plenty, you know? Okay. And culturally, we really take those things for granted. And I think that's how you stay in the void. Like, hey, you said earlier, if you start your day with one-page devotional, what does that do to your frame of mind? How are you starting your day? Right? I've fallen out of this habit, but I had a habit of when I wake up, and I think I fell out because it became less personal and more chore-based in my mind, but I would not get out of bed. I would not touch my phone. I would not check anything before I prayed, specifically in gratitude. Right? I'm going to wake up. Thank you for waking me up. Thank you that I have a wife next to me who's soundly sleeping. You know, like I would go through what am I starting my day absolutely thankful for, down to the fact that I woke up. Yeah. Right? But after a couple hundred times, I'm like, my phone's going ballistic. And I'm like, oh, don't touch it. Thank you for waking me up. Thanks for my wife. Thanks for my kids. Thanks for the house. Love you. And then I go, and it's not personal anymore. Yeah. And so I kind of got away from it. But there's something to be said about starting your day in gratitude. In a motorcycle club, Christian motorcycle club, we talk about having word time daily. It's a requirement. If you want to be part of the club, you have to read the word every day. And that doesn't mean you have to find 5 hours to read all of Psalms, right? It's be intentional at some point in your day and get in the word. Yeah. And when I first started in the club, was a big evening reader. Yeah. All right, kids are in bed. The house is relatively quiet. Now I can get into my word. And one of my brothers convicted me and was like, how much better do you think your day would be if you started it with your word time? Right. you're intentionally, in a way, you're fasting from whatever else you would have done, right? You're denying yourself the coffee or the phone call or the doom scrolling or the whatever you were going to do, and you're getting personal with God first. Then whatever else comes throughout the rest of the day, you're armored up.
Yeah.
And so intentionality in finding that sense of true gratitude before the speed bumps and the driveway shoveling and the void and the kids getting on your nerves can really rewire the neural pathways that make you tick the way you do during your day and in those trials and tribulations, right?
Yeah, I think that we have a tendency to start to speed through those things that we start out with intentionality.
Like the gratitude prayer.
Right, right. So, mine is, okay, I'm going to listen to my Bible app and whatever lesson it is that day. And
but on 2X though.
But it's like, well, it's not like 1.5.
No, that was I hit that conviction. I'm like, I'm 4 days behind. I'll put it on 2X while I'm in the shower and maybe hear it. Like, am I being intentional?
Right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. No, you're good. But that's really it. That's kind of where I was going. I found recently that I got so busy thinking about the other things, because I'll play it in the shower and I'll start it and then I move on to whatever. I throw my makeup on, or I find clothes that fit right that day, which Lord knows that leads me into a whole other lane of,
we're gonna start praying
I'm
before
grumpy
we
again.
get dressed.
But I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying?
Speeding through things and thinking elsewhere.
But then my brain just goes and does what it just did, right? Squirrel brain.
Yeah.
And
what are the kids?
What
have
I'm
to do?
listening to in the background, I couldn't tell you what it was just about.
Right.
I couldn't tell you what book of the Bible I just listened to.
Yeah.
So I have to go back and listen to it again because I was too busy grocery listing and gymnastics and hockey and do these pants fit me yet or
house
anymore?
projects.
House project, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
And we, as believers, make it almost like we're brushing our teeth with the Bible and with giving our time to God at all. We do it. But like, how often are you intentional when you're brushing your teeth? Think about, like, I'm talking to you, I'm like half sleepy, I'm doing it, I can say that I did it, but did I really go through a whole really like oral hygiene routine? Probably not. Once in a blue moon, I do like the full, like, let's get this good.
That's not a shot at any dental hygienists out there. We're sure,
I should.
You do it well. Right. I'm sure you floss and everything.
Right, no. As I'm drinking coffee, making it all worse. But it's not about the dental hygiene right now. It's about the fact that it becomes a knee-jerk reaction, muscle memory type of behavior.
It's going through the motions.
Where
it's hollow.
I do think there's something to, when I was a teenager and I didn't feel like going to church, my mom dragged me anyway. And now to this day, there's sermons that I remember that I heard when I was 14 years old.
Of them, right?
Even though I was like trying to eye whatever boy I liked across the room,
easy
right?
Now.
But at the same time, if we're going to beg God to refine us and to use the struggles and the losses and the grief and all the moments and all the shoveling driveways to our betterment, why aren't we doing the one little thing that's easy, which is just paying attention when we're reading our Bible? When we're in prayer, even the routine at dinner time becomes like,
our kids each have
the thing they say.
The thing they say. And it's the same every time. And it kills me because I want to be like, hey, let's be intentional. Right. But the other part of me is like, we have kids that pray over dinner and they ask to.
No, thank you, Jesus.
We say, who would like to say grace? All the kids' hands shoot up and we have to like either let them each take turns or let one do today and the other one do tomorrow, and the one that didn't get to is bummed.
Or
like, that's a blessing.
We have a guest and Hazel shotguns them.
Bruh. Dinner.
No.
Yeah, that was epic.
Twice.
That was epic.
If you ever come to dinner, you might be praying.
But no, I totally agree with you. It becomes this hollow, go through the motions thing. But I think all of that falls under this umbrella of a word that people really don't want to get on board with, especially in Western culture. Yeah. Submission. Right? Yeah. We talk about wives submitting unto their husbands, husbands submitting unto their wives as Jesus submits unto the church. I didn't mean that in that wording, so take that and throw it out. How Jesus loves the church, not submits to. Scratch.
He's served though. I
mean,
Jesus was washing feet.
I didn't mean
before he said, "Hey, by the way, I'm about to leave this earth."
In an under way. Anyway, moving on. Submission in totality is a requirement for salvation.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
To get on board with the grace and the love and the mercy of God, you have to abandon your plan by submitting to his. You have to let go of your will by submitting to his. In every roadblock and fork in the road of your life in this journey of faith, it requires submission to him.
Right.
And so, like, taking time to be intentional is a form of submission. Hitting 2x, tossing your phone on the counter and going and doing your makeup in the corner is not submission. It's a check in the box.
Yep.
And in this country, in our age group, 90%, I would stake money on that. 90% of the time spent towards a relationship with God is more of a check in the box than it is true submission.
Right.
And I'm guilty of that.
Right.
You're guilty of that.
Right.
We all do it.
Yep.
Right? And I hate that. It sounds like I'm hating on America, right? But like in this
we don't struggle the way
lackadaisical, we don't struggle the way other countries do. And I'm not saying people here don't struggle. I'm saying
we all have
culturally, it's just different here. I have brothers in the club in Nepal where speaking the word of Christ out loud is a jailable crime.
Yeah.
Anything that can be construed as a conversion tactic puts you in jail.
Yeah.
And we ride around with Christian on our back. Like, it's not a far reach to say that just wearing club colors can get you arrested in this country. We don't have to deal with stuff like that. We don't have that level of persecution. So for us, we've created this distraction culture. And maybe the enemy created this distraction culture, and we're just so dumb that we fell into it too.
Right.
But when you're talking
That's
about
sin.
When you're talking about the things that you're distracted by, almost none of those things matter. House projects are going to happen when house projects happen. Hockey is at the same time that it was on the calendar for last week.
Yep.
It's going to be there. It's not going anywhere. Yet, we allow all these stupid things, scrolling. How many notifications do I have to respond to? How many comments do I have to respond to, get to respond to? Whatever. We fill our mental capacity, our like milk jug of what we can fit in there with all this crap. Right. And then we go, oh, how would I have had time to do my Bible thing? How would I have had time to find quiet time with the Lord? It's like, maybe we just don't worry about the stuff that brings us nothing. Right. You know, like maybe we just don't worry about hockey.
When we come to the end of
Hockey's
our life.
At what time? 6 o'clock? Right. It's 11. Why are we worried about hockey? Right. It's not for 7 hours.
You get to the pearly gates. God's not going, did you make it to hockey practice?
Hey, you were late to 2 hockey practices in January. You can't get in here. We have to live this life like we are on a crash course with death, because we are. And we sugarcoat faith so much here. Like Philip Anthony Mitchell said in that thing last night, we have way less time than most people want to stop and admit. Yeah. And whether that's till Jesus comes back or till our time here expires, our time is fleeting. And like us living a life that glorifies the Lord is hard. And it takes continuous daily work. So if we blink and 2 months has gone by, 8 months has gone by, 3 years has gone by, and we are spiritually stagnant or digressing, there's a huge problem, especially when we're more worried about house projects and hockey practices and whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we don't put intentionality and submission into our relationship with Jesus. Right. We don't. And like, I was raised in a way that as long as you say Jesus is Jesus, you're good. Nothing else matters. You don't have to live in any kind of way. You don't have to sacrifice anything. You don't have.
How'd that work for you?
And I'm not. Because obviously this is ecumenical. There's people from all kinds of different denominations watching this. So it's like, I'm not saying your salvation is dependent on any kind of legalism. And I'm not saying you can earn it, because you cannot, right? Salvation is a free gift. But the Apostle Paul tells us that Jesus said that we were saved by grace through faith so that we could perform the great works that he ordained for us long ago. I just like put 5 different translations together. But the point is like, were we saved by works? No, right? We were saved by grace, but we were saved by grace so that we can now go do the things that he wanted us to do and planned for us to do before we were ever born, which means that salvation requires intentionality. It requires sacrifice. It requires us going out of our way to do the things that the Lord would have us do. And how are we going to know that if we spend our whole lives looking introspectively into this jar full of nothing that we've packed in there and not giving God the time of day to even ask, to even stop and say, what would you have me do today? Am I supposed to talk to somebody? Do you have a word for somebody? How can I uplift somebody? What struggles did you pull me out of the fire from that I can use to help the next person get out of that fire? right?
Yes.
I've been addicted to prescription medication. I've been addicted to alcohol. I have been sexually immoral. I have been divorced. I have buried my child. Like, I go down the punch list of pain in my life and I go, there's no way that God pulled me out of these circumstances to not bless other people. There is another father out there who just lost his child, who has no idea how to get through it, that I can show Jesus to through my recovery. There's somebody else stuck on psych medications who can't see a way out, who has the same struggles and ideations that I did, who doesn't see a light at the end of that tunnel, that I can show the light of Jesus to through my recovery.
Right.
And everyone has this, right? Like the book of Revelation says that we will overcome him by the blood of the Lamb and the power word of our testimonies. Our testimonies are so powerful that they will help overcome Satan.
Right.
So why are we not using these testimonies to help other people with? We look at these blemishes in our past as disqualifications for our future, instead of the tools and weapons that can help fight on other people's behalfs.
Right.
They make us intercessors. They make us mentors. They make us hand uppers of the person who's trying to get out of the slump, you know? And we don't utilize it. We don't weaponize it. We don't use it to help people. We worry about hockey practice.
Right.
And we keep all the pain, the grief, and the lessons learned internalized.
Right.
For what?
Well, worldly goals, right? I think that that's how we circle right back to the original, the little tiny things that you wouldn't actually count as a sin, right? You wouldn't go, man, hockey's become a sin. It's not a sin. Making success in anything an idol over time with God is the sin. But we don't look at it like that. We look at it like, well, I'm teaching my kid to stick to what he says he's going to do, right?
And let your yes be a yes and your no be a no.
Right. Those are all important things. However, as parents, we have to structure the schedule and the time so that he can uphold what he said he's going to do, while also still ensuring that the whole family has time in the Word, right? And we're looking at how we fill our time in a different perspective, where it's not just, I want to be successful at this thing, because what is success, right? What is it that we think is success? Because I know for me, 10 years ago, it was making 6 figures at whatever corporation, and that was the goal, right? And once we got up there, I thought, this isn't as rewarding as I thought it would be. And now I want the opposite almost, right? I want to still be able to pay my bills. But the struggle in the middle there is kind of what helped me realize that that's not what I wanted. And it's whether it's hockey or gymnastics or how many working hours we're putting in or whatever, how high we climb on whatever ladder it is that we happen to put ourselves on.
What price your stock gift is that day?
Or what price your stock, right. All of these things. And it's even the fact that holidays, right? I am so obsessed with putting on the whole show, the production, right? And that's part of the reason the void that we're in. I'm so tired and grumpy right now because I just spent
2 months,
weeks of I want to make the right food. I want to make sure everything's pretty, and it's all nonsense.
All the kids have enough presents at the approximate value that would make them happy.
But really, you have a couple things.
The lesson that I took from this Christmas, we dropped a decent amount of cash on Christmas gifts. I asked our 5-year-old, of all the gifts she got, and she got a lot, of all your gifts, honey, what was your favorite one? She said the chocolate in my stocking. The closest to free thing that we provided her brought her the most joy. We lose perspective as adults of what brings people, what is happiness, right? It was the chocolate. You probably spent $2 on that.
Even Elijah, all the hockey equipment and all the stuff that like cripples us. His favorite thing was a jean jacket. And I'm like, really? Okay. Well, that's great. I love that. Good to know next year. But you have a couple perspectives and sides of the spectrum where you're looking at the servanthood that you were talking about, serving others, serving God, and all of those things that we put in our piles that are pulled slowly but surely over to the success pile really can go right back into the servant pile. The problem is the enemy works in our lives daily, and we slowly, oh, I want more money. I want to be good at this thing.
I want to
be, I want to look good in my clothes, so I become obsessed with how fit I am, whatever, right? All of the things that are that we could be using in a servant leadership, servanthood manner, we let it get pulled from the little tiny things, all the midnight snacks of our thoughts, if that makes sense.
That's a t-shirt. I like that.
I won't remember what it's about in a week.
Right?
Why are you talking about midnight snacks of our thoughts?
Of our lives?
What does that even mean?
So I say this all the time, and probably just because we were both in the Navy, but I always use this example, and I feel like it's the most accurate analogy I have in my head. But like when I was on my first ship, my only ship, we were in Mayport, Florida, in Jacksonville, right? And we would go on deployment, we'd go straight east, and we would hit Sao Tome and Principe. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but Africa.
God bless you.
Africa is shaped like kind of like a kidney bean, right? And right in like the crease in the center, there's a group of islands, and we'd stop there to get gas.
Yeah.
And east to west, it's a pretty straight shot. So we'd leave, and because of rules of engagement and whatnot, it would take us 2 weeks to get to this island, give or take, by a day or two to get gas. And we had to check our bearing. We had to check our heading constantly. Yeah. Because, we have GPS and stuff now, obviously, but you still have to check the bearing that you're going to get to your destination because you can't see it yet. Right. And like this is personification towards the faith journey through life, through goals, literally all of it. You're going towards a goal you cannot yet see. Yeah. You know the general direction you have to go to get there. You'll make adjustments along the way, but for the most part, you have to stick to this relative bearing. But if you're 2 degrees off course, left or right, for the course of the entire ocean, over the course of 2 weeks, you're not getting close to Sao Tome. Right. You're going to hit South Africa. You're going to hit Norway. You will be so far removed from your goal, from where you were supposed to finish that race. It will be unrecognizable. But it starts with 2 degree, being off by 2 degrees, which on a gyroscope or a compass is fractional. Right. It is almost hard to even notice at first. But over time, with enough compromises, with enough, it's not that far off. Right. I'm not 10 degrees off, right? I'm mostly going in the right direction. Now you're in South Africa. Why?
Right.
You're bad.
The irony of that is that if your heading that you put in is anything other than God's plan, you're off course anyway. Ooh. Because when you're putting, I'm going to make this much money, I'm going to be successful at this thing, I'm going to be the leader in my church, I'm going to be whatever it is that I think my plan is, you're already off course anyway.
Scripture ringing in my mind says,
I love when that happens.
Scripture ringing in my mind says, he who says, I will go to this town and stay for a year or two and do my business and make a profit is a fool. And there's a closing to that I'm not going to try to. Okay, summary. That person is a fool because if God wants you to be there, then you will, but you don't know. Right. So to say that you're going to do this and be here and make money and do business, you're a fool. Yeah. Because you have less than that control of your life and your circumstance. Yeah. What do people say? Like, do you want to tell God a joke? Tell him your plans or something? How many t-shirts are we going to make out of this? I like that too. I didn't come up with that one. I don't care. It's a twist. Is it copyrighted? I don't know. That's going to be a flat bill. Somebody tell us. I don't know. No, it's true. And we all do it. And like you were raised differently than me. You were raised predominantly for the majority of your childhood in a God-loving, God-fearing home. I was not. If you asked my parents on a sidewalk, what religion would you guys say you follow? They'd say, oh, we're Christian. And they'd be like, what flavor? And they'd be like, Protestant. And like, that's the end. There's nothing more. Yeah. It's surface level, moral do-goodism Christianity. If I believe in Jesus and I'm a good enough person, that's all I need. Yeah. Which is America. Well, the truth of the matter is nobody's a good person. 100%. Good luck. Like Paul, dude. People revere Paul. Paul Revere. Boom. Paul wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, right? And half of that he was in chains for, and he was still writing and exemplifying servant leadership, right? But Paul self-identified as the chief of sinners. He never claimed to be anything. He claimed that his life was like a wisp. It was here for a moment, and then it was gone. And he was nothing. And he was the worst of all sinners on earth. And he basically built the modern church with the help of the Holy Spirit. Right. And so for anyone to think of themselves highly enough to pick their own heading or their own destination is just crazy tough. And I did it for 30 years.
But and that's,
I'm going to be this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to accomplish
this. That leads back to the struggle.
Yeah.
Because we're going, no, I want to go this way. And God's going, no. But that's going to hurt. That movement hurts. You're going over speed bumps now. God's pushing you back. And you're like, no. God, listen, I know. Okay, I'm supposed to have this position at this job. I have to get this degree. I have to be talented at these 17 things. I have to look online like I'm the perfect parent. My house has to look pretty. Better Homes and Gardens it. Whatever. I don't know. Whatever the thing is that we idolize, right? We look at things and go, oh, this is nice. So when we are saying, hey, I'm putting God's plan in my heading.
Yeah.
So and I was in a part of my life for years where even as a Christian, as a believer, I was raised to make smart decisions, right? Like get good grades, try for high honor roll, whatever, right? And in that, I started to build my own little fort around myself of this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to succeed. This is what my life was going to be. And, I was at a point, I didn't even really want children. I wanted to be corporate, whatever, right? And that's really just this safety net that I found
Comfort
out
zone.
what I thought I was good at, which is really like following directions, I think, which is ironic because I really hate being told what to do. But if I know what the end goal is, I'm fine with taking the Lego steps that they give me in the book, right? But anyway, now at a different stage in my life where I went, oh, I didn't put God in the heading. I put him there, but I still have my midnight snack thoughts, right? That then they're fueled by emotion, right?
Sure.
So you have emotion and God-given emotion. It's a good thing. We're supposed to have feelings. It's how I love you when you put the clothes on the floor next to the hamper.
I've never done that.
but hanging on to those emotions in an unhealthy way leads to thoughts that are not healthy, which leads to actions that are not healthy. And it could be emotional eating. It can be drinking. It could be benzos. It could be success. It could be the next college degree and the next one and the next one, because it becomes a coping mechanism.
It's a distraction.
Right. And then you look back and God's no longer at the heading. It's whatever it is that will distract me from whatever's made me sad. When the struggle that was making me sad was actually put there to guide me back to having God at the heading. But I kept forgetting.
Someone once said somewhere.
Someone said somewhere.
Author unknown said Satan doesn't need to end you. Right? He just needs to distract you. He doesn't need to make you hate God.
Yeah.
He needs to make you think about anything else too long.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. We fill ourselves with these distractions, with these coping mechanisms, with these things that just take our eyes 2 degrees off from God. And then in 10 years, we were like, when was the last time I hit my knees? When was the last time I asked God for strength? I've been relying on mine this whole time, and it literally has never worked once, and I keep trying it, which is the definition of insanity, right? Repeating the same action over and over, expecting different results. And I know the solution.
Yeah.
Why am I so far away? Why am I so disconnected? That 2-degree distraction.
That's because we put value on things that don't matter. Actually, in that conversation with Elijah that I was having, somehow, it went in a weird route, because he asked what I used to do in the Navy, and I was talking about comms and satellites and all that, right? And
boyfriends.
And so, easy. And so the word crypto happened in that, and then he asked about cryptocurrency, and then whatever. So then we got on the topic of money, and I said, it's funny. I had a teacher, Mr. Karinga, I hope he doesn't mind me saying his name in a podcast, in history class, and I don't remember what tribe of Native American this was, but their currency back then, maybe he was joking. He also used to draw some crazy stuff on the board that was really funny. But anyway, he said they traded blue beads as currency. And Elijah's like, well, what would anyone do with blue beads? I said, I don't know. What do you do with a piece of paper that you have in your wallet right now? We decided there's value on this.
Yeah.
The government decided there's value on this. And now we live our lives trying to make more of it. If all of a sudden one day it was blue beads instead of the paper with presidents, then what?
Yeah.
what are we putting value on? Are we putting it in God and the end of our lives and what we can show for how and who we served? Or are we really ecstatic to pass down the bank account full of paper?
Amen.
You know?
A minute ago when you were talking about ourselves and figuring out like our bearing, our heading, and you talked about in your youth how you started kind of mapping out your future and all these things. You know, you don't stop living when you have kids, and your life shifts to being about them, but you still have these unresolved goals and aspirations and dreams that you've been thinking about your whole life.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of us, myself included, it's a really hard transition to incorporate God's heading for their lives instead of yours.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy for us to say, I'm going to go here, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Wait, nah, let me give that to God. But how often are we saying, let's make sure Elijah gets into the college he wants to get into. Let's make sure Elijah has the opportunity to do this. Let's make sure Scarlett has the opportunity.
Yeah.
How often are we hitting our knees going, God, whatever your plan is for Elijah's life, make it known to us so that we can help take the steps you would have us take to make that happen.
Right.
Right? We, as parents, have been in control of our children their whole lives.
Right.
When they eat, when they drink, their shelter, all their needs. Yeah. We are their providers. But in a home where Christ is the center, we have to constantly check our plan and heading for their life and make sure that's in tune with God's plan.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the most difficult thing to do as parents, is to kind of release the reins while still doing the providing, right? You're still signing them up for sports, making sure they get there, helping them practice. But through all of that, teaching them who's actually in charge, and then together seeking his guidance for where to go next.
Right.
That's tricky.
It's funny too, because I pray it over them a lot.
Yeah.
But I lose sight of it easily in trying to make sure that I'm providing the right opportunities for them that are in their heads. And it's hard to know whether or not what's in your kid's head about, you know, being a singer or a chef or a hockey player is what is God's plan, right? Sure. So I want to harness whatever creativity, whatever thoughts they have going on and say, hey, you're fully capable if you put the work in. Also ask God about it, right? But at least I was gonna say we grew up, maybe I grew up differently in this manner, but the expectation on one side of my family was you grow up, you go to college, these are the things you're going to do. And I did them to such an extent to this day, 40 years old and still going to college because I can't stop wanting to learn. Yeah. Also, though, the past decade was like the paper on the wall, right? So that entire thought process was something I really wanted claps for from my parents, right? And not long before my mother had died, as you know, I was really upset because I finished my master's degree and I didn't really get much of a reaction out of her. And so finally I called her in the same year that she died. And I said, I don't understand why you don't seem very proud of me for doing this. And she's like, oh, Cass, I've always been proud of you and I never doubted that you could. I'm just nervous about what you're doing it for. And it didn't resonate as deeply in that moment. Hearing her say she was proud of me for it really hit harder. And it makes it sound like she never told me it didn't matter what I did. I rode a bike, I wrote an essay, whatever I did, my mom would oogle over me about everything I did. Maybe that was the reason. I'm like, I finally did something real that matters in my mind. And I wasn't getting the, oh, you're amazing. And so I was confused as to why I wasn't receiving that from her. But after she passed, what mattered really started to stick out to me because I no longer had my mom there to be a sounding board for all the little things. And so perspective started to sink in with, you know, an extra gin and tonic or two.
Well, you got a second perspective too. You got a weird, vulnerable, raw insight to what she was actually praying about.
Right.
After she passed.
Yeah.
When your stepdad brought you her prayers.
Yep.
And you were saying, Mom, I got my master's degree. She was praying, I hope Cass and Kayle find a God-honoring church.
Yeah.
And that they have God in their homes.
Yeah. Right, because she saw the idolization that was happening.
Yeah.
In my mind, there's nothing wrong with that at the time.
Right.
Because I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't murdering somebody. I wasn't out sleeping around. I wasn't doing things that you shouldn't be doing on paper according to the world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting a degree. That's wonderful.
Mm.
But it was my idol.
Oh, yeah.
It was something that was causing pride. But pride comes before the fall for a reason.
Compromises at almost every other turn.
Right.
4 a.m. nights getting papers done turns to slight neglecting on this end and not taking care of that.
Well, yeah, and then I'm tired and I'm grumpy with the kids or whatever,
right.
and
it's a cycle.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with going to school.
No, certainly. And now, I was booted out, right, for a while because I wasn't showing up after my mom died because I lost sight of all goals. But there's a means in which I stopped caring about what anyone thought in the world around me, and I started to care what God thought.
Right.
And the moment that my perspective as a mother, as a leader, as a wife changed, I was allowed back into the same exact college to actually use this for ministry now, to actually take it and say, okay, this is what I'm going to use this for. And
I think that is the biggest difference too, right? It's not just that you don't care what the world thinks and you care what God thinks. You went from, how can I call myself Dr. Rivers, right? No offense, to how can I weaponize this education to serve the kingdom?
Right.
And since you've been back in school with a different heart posture, which it's only been a month, maybe 2.
It's been one semester.
1 semester. How many things have fallen into place for you in ministry?
All of them.
You have podcast airings coming up out the yin yang for other people's podcasts. You've written numerous articles. Your book's out. Like, everything in ministry has just boom, 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 boom. And all you had to do was submit.
Right.
Fully.
Right.
Not partially. Not, God, I'm going to give you this part, but I'm going to figure this out.
And it is servanthood, right? Because none of the articles, none of the blogs, none of the anythings are, like, I'm not making any money off of any of that.
Right.
So it's all, I have an opportunity to say something that might matter to at least one person and make a difference. I'm going to do that today.
You're using
I'm going to take
gifts.
my day and write something for somebody instead of worry about how I look to other people or try to make an extra dollar or whatever it is. And I have set back into myself and said, okay, well, God will provide.
Yeah.
I know this. I know that if I'm taking my time now and using it for ministry and using it to homeschool our children and lead them towards God, that God will provide in those areas of my life. And it's not necessarily what I think is providing.
100%.
You know, my vision is, okay, we keep the house and the car I have. Maybe that's not the provision he's going to provide. For all I know, I'm going to blink and I'm going to have a smaller house and a smaller car or whatever.
Might even be in Mongolia, for all you know.
Sure. Right.
In the club, we tell people when they come in that there's a couple things that are just important in the life of a Christian man, right? And the fourth one is giving. And a lot of people, especially in America, get caught up on that, like we're asking for money.
Yeah.
But we specifically, it's a full sentence, it's not a word. It's giving of your time, talents, or treasures, right? Treasures being your finances.
Right.
What you're doing right now is giving of your time and talent, right? And you could say treasures by the fact that you're not working on an extra contract that could pay you money. You're using your giftings that the Lord has bestowed upon you instead of trying to get a title, get a piece of paper. You're using it to try to uplift, encourage, edify, and bring Jesus to people where they are, whether that's in this magazine or on that podcast or on this billboard in Times Square coming up or in your book or whatever. You're devoting your time and using your giftings for others, which is servant leadership, right? I spent the first 30 years of my life using my extroverted personality and my ridiculous
good looks,
lack of fear to flirt with anything to get what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
To do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right? To open the doors I wanted open even when they were closed.
Yeah.
And so I like to say I did what I wanted to do for 30 years of my life. If I'm fortunate enough to get 30 more, he has all of them.
Right.
Like, let me use whatever personality you gave me to glorify you, to bring people to you, to pull people out of the fire. Let me use my gifts for you only. I don't ever want to be back in a situation where I'm playing games with my gifts to make money, or I'm playing games with the things that the Lord has blessed me with for personal gain only. You know what I'm saying? And the Lord is sovereign over all things. So if you're doing something in ministry and you end up making a wage that can support your family, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Paul in the Bible made and sold tents, right, to fund his ministry. But in his letters to the church, he was like, don't get it twisted. I have the right to come here and collect. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, it's very outlined in the Bible that people who are spending their life preaching the gospel, that should be the way that they're supporting their life as well, right? So they're not serving two masters. I kind of fell off course there, but my point is that using your giftings for free blessings to others is amazing. And if that turns into something that ends up helping you pay that car payment or help put groceries in this refrigerator, there is nothing wrong with that, but you can't make that happen, right? If the Lord wants it to happen, it will. And if he doesn't, it won't. But no matter what, our needs will be met. Maybe not our wants, but our needs will be met.
And spiritually, we're still being fed.
Right.
Because there's fulfillment from that. I feel a fulfillment anytime anyone says that they read the book and it helped them or whatever, right? One of the book signings I did in Barnes & Noble, the woman was so upset about losing her sister, she literally couldn't continue looking at the book at all. She set it back down. And I didn't push and say, no, you have to buy it. Like,
you touched it.
I said, can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
And anyone who knows me knows I'm not a really big hugger. Like, I hug you and my children and my parents, and that's about it. And I don't know what came over me, to be honest. It was very unlike me, but I felt so full from just being a shoulder to lean on to a complete stranger. Because another fun fact about me is I don't like strangers.
Or humans.
I just get uneasy. I don't know. But I think really all in all, we take all of the gifts that God has given us, right? And we have chances to decide whether or not we're going to put a value on them that is worldly and use it for our own success, or we're going to give it to God and say, use this how you will. And in that, when we say, all right, God, you're at the head of all the gifts that you have given me, thank you, there's going to be struggle along the way.
Yeah.
And with those little struggles, as long as we're checking ourselves over and over and over, the midnight snack thoughts, in those self-checks, we won't be able to go that far off course, right? But if we're not self-checking, even if we stated we're putting God at the head, we're still going to end up off course otherwise.
And there's a parable about this, right? And maybe it's not directly about this, but this is what hit me while we're talking about it. When Jesus is talking about the master who gives the guys each one denarius. And he's going out of town or for whatever. And first one takes that gift, right? That investment from the Lord, and he goes and makes a profit on it. Right? And the way I'm looking at that in the terms of this conversation is God gave you gifts to reach other people. So when you get to the gates and he says, what did you do with the gifts that I gave you? If you can show him 10 people who you brought to him by that gift, that's what I'm taking from that parable in this conversation.
Compared to the other guy who buried it, right?
Right. So the next guy, he had the one denarius. I think he turned it into 5 or 6. Right. He still multiplied it. Right. And God praised him equally. And I think that's a big thing that jumps out. He didn't go, well, why didn't you get 10? Right. He said, you did what you thought what you thought I wanted you to do with that. And you've shown a return on my investment. I gave you something and you brought me back more. Right. When he tells us to go out and make disciples of all nations, we should get to the gates and go, I brought him. You know, he's going to do the work. He's going to water. He's going to harvest. But we're out here planting seeds and we should be able to account for the fact that we did it. Right. And then you get to the last one who got his gift. He buried it in the ground. Master comes back and he's like, hey, what'd you do with my gift? What'd you do with my money while I was gone? And he said, I'm afraid of you. You reap when you didn't sow, right? You take when you didn't give. I was terrified of you. So here is your gift back. I didn't want to risk losing it. And he was furious and he took it and he gave it to the one who made 10. He didn't take it back for himself. He went, this person had the gift. Look what they did for me. You did nothing.
And how often
you kept it to yourself.
Does fear do that?
All the time.
Even the book, right? I was writing by myself. I was journaling on my own. It was for me. I was, which I've done my whole life. Right. I would have never imagined putting it into the world, even though when I was younger, I wanted to be an author. I wanted it, right?
Well, that's different. This is different.
But it was
this
personal.
is vulnerable.
It was it was personal.
I'm gonna pour my drink. Keep talking.
So, that was my fizzy water.
No, it wasn't.
Thief.
I promise it wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I just put it there.
You did. My bad. Whatever.
You just stole my fizzy water.
You're right. Mine's at the end of the table. You can have it. Well,
Anyway.
vulnerable.
So, fear is what kept me from doing anything with all of that information.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. My mother passed away in 2021, which is about when I started to finally take every other trauma, the death of our child, a sexual assault, all these things that had happened to me in my life, and they all started to bubble over and boil over. And I had to write them down. And I hadn't really written in a long time. And I kept feeling this pull to really do something with it. And I didn't have a book at that point. I had just like rants, getting it out. But the second I thought in my mind for a moment that it would become something someone else would read, I had fear.
You started deleting whole chapters.
I did delete multiple chapters. And I had some that I just set aside because of personal information about other people involved in our lives.
Right.
I didn't
Probably
think
wasn't your place to disclose.
it wasn't my place to disclose, right? But there was Satan working, going, no, that's scary. Don't tell other people. Don't tell other people. Well, now I look at it and it's hilarious to me that I was scared. Because it's so easy to say out loud now that I've written it and let even one person read it. Because I've seen how it's helped people.
Yeah.
So if back then God had looked dead at me and said, hey, listen, I promise this is going to help people. You will see how it helps people. It would have been easier to do. But that doesn't make our faith grow.
Right.
So I took it and I said, okay, we're going to try. How about this? I'll put it out there. And if it doesn't get picked up, if nobody wants to publish it, if it's not, well, then I guess it's not meant to be.
So you start already putting parameters.
And I'm putting parameters around.
Okay,
I was, though. I'm not going to lie and pretend like I wasn't.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the response came, hey, we love this, we want to do this, I said, well, I guess I better get to writing, you know? And it's funny because I initially took the writing and I buried it.
Yeah.
And it took until being released in 2025. It was 4 years later that it truly became something at all. Granted, I mean, it was a good year of really writing, and the chicken scratch forward, and there's plenty of things I don't even know.
Well, and you didn't start your grief by writing either.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, writing has been something I did my whole life.
Yeah.
And so it's actually, the irony of all of it is it's something my mom always said she thought I would do. And I hate that she wasn't here to see me do it, you know, but.
There's not much that you wrote in this book that she didn't live through with you.
Right. No, she knows about it all, but I think that there's just, there's something to her understanding. And as parents, I think about that now with our children when you were talking about how, you know, we make all these plans for them. You start to get a feeling as a parent what your children's gifts really are and how they, like Elijah, my mother said it her whole life, you know, he has a servant's heart, right? And I don't know what it is he's going to actually do. You know, maybe he does play hockey for a while, maybe he doesn't, who knows, right? But I think whatever he does long term in his life will involve serving others.
Oh, 100%.
You know, that's 100%. Just how I feel. And, you know, with Scarlett, she's singing wherever she can go. And listening to her on that worship team, just, it changes every ounce of nervousness that I have about my children's futures.
Right.
You know, and
knowing that they have those giftings and they're coming to know the Lord in their own way. Yeah. That changes all of it, right? Because you can facilitate, hey, if you want to play hockey, we'll make every sacrifice. Yeah. We'll pay for the camps. We'll pay for the clinics. We'll wake up at 3 a.m. to take you to games. We'll drive all over New England. We'll get you to every practice. We can do those things. But life is our testimony, right? Every interaction with another person can be an opportunity to witness. Yeah. So Elijah, maybe he goes pro. If he does, I guarantee you on that bench, you will tell somebody about the Lord. That's the goal. It doesn't matter what they do. He could play hockey. He could be a doctor. He could be an astronaut.
That's a new T-shirt.
He could.
Tell him about Jesus. That's the goal with a goalie. Sorry.
Oh.
Go ahead. I
For
apologize.
real. He could be a line cook at Waffle House. Whatever. If he is using his gifts to bring people to God and to honor the Father, we win.
Who are we coming in contact with? Who are they going to come in contact with?
I have a good friend, you know him, Alex. Everywhere this man goes, everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's the gas station, if he's going out to dinner, wherever he's going, he stops and he prays for divine appointments. He says, Lord, I'm willing, I'm able, I'm dropping all my plans. When I walk in there, if there is someone who needs something, you just point him out. Right?
I love that.
And I think maybe once a month, he gets a vibe where he's like, I have to pray for this person. But like, I have been all over this place with Alex. Like, we have been in a lot of states in the club together. He can't go to Walmart to grab one thing without being like, whoosh. Hey, can I pray for you? And I'm like, what was that? And he's like, I prayed for God to put people in my way. And not that he's some kind of like prophet or anything like that. But he tries to stay in tune with the Spirit to a point where he's obedient everywhere he goes, in every circumstance he's in. And he falls, just like the rest of us. But like, if we can get our kids to live a life like that, where when they walk into the supermarket, they, okay, God, I'm pretty sure I know the gifts you gave me. If there's an opportunity for me to use them for you, not for me to be seen, but for you to get glory, would you show me? In the Walmart, at the gas pump, at your doctor's appointment, if everywhere you go in life, you're checking in to see what you should be doing, I think you're in a pretty good spot.
Right.
And if we can have our kids do that, it doesn't matter what they do.
And I mean, how often, you made a comment, it was like he's a prophet or something, right? But we're all called, believers or not, to serve others. We get that. When I was 15 years old, I get feelings to go help somebody, and I wouldn't always do it because I wouldn't always want to walk up to a random stranger.
And you get that whisper.
And we know that I don't love to walk up to strangers, but I worked at a grocery. My very first job was, other than babysitting, was a grocery store, and I used to get so irritated at the people that put the cart like next to cars and just couldn't walk the 2 feet to put it. Like, unless you're in the handicap, if you're in the handicap spot, leave your cart. We got it. But like, if you could park way down the line with your big old giant truck, but could leave your cart down there because you're too lazy to put it back, we got problems. I have an issue with you. But with that being said, I hope somebody dinged your truck. I'm sorry, I take that back. But that's the same thought, right? So you see a lady who clearly can't bring it back, right? You go get the cart for her. Those are things I was willing to do. But I was a believer, but I wasn't living with God at the helm, if you will, right? And so we all have those pulls. It's not even just, hey, God, give me a person to serve today. God gives everybody people to serve regularly, believers or not. And we pass up opportunities so often. I know that I do, because I'm introverted in that way. Even doing this, it takes a lot for me to do what we're doing right now. The podcast alone, then you add a live stream on the side of it, and my brain has to go.
Last time I looked, there's only 2 people. If that
I
makes
love
you feel
that. Yay, 2 people.
It was probably because the mic was off forever.
Nobody's here. But either way, doing it at all, right? And I think that we forget that there's always opportunities to help somebody. You know, there's always opportunities to just do the right thing. It doesn't always have to be, here's a Bible here. That it doesn't have to be big, extravagant, preachy in their face.
It doesn't have to be
do something
memorized 10-minute prayer sermon.
Just do something good. That's it. That's what Jesus intended. Do something good. And it's not even that hard. And when you feel the little pull to do the good thing, that's inching you back on course.
Right. That's that nudge.
That's instead of I can't bother with that person today. I don't have time. I'm late for hockey practice. All of those things. Oh, that's great. Well, now the old lady's got to walk an extra mile to put her cart back when you were going to be late to hockey practice, Cass. Like, come on. It's all perspective and what matters and what doesn't matter. And we put value on stuff that we shouldn't put value on.
100%.
But
I think that about wraps this up. I think, we covered a lot there. I think what we place value in is a huge thing, a good takeaway. As parents, understanding that while we provide opportunities, safety, shelter, basic necessities for our children, we ultimately, if we are saying that God is in control of our path, and piloting the ship of our lives. We have to relinquish control over our children's futures in that same light and come together as a household. You can't say Christ is at the center of your home and only let it apply to you.
Yeah.
Right? A takeaway from this is, how do we parent while being providers, but acknowledging and submitting to the fact that Christ is just as much their father as he is our father?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was it. I think we're good.
You want to pray us out?
Oh, absolutely. I'd love that. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this wife that you've given me. Father, you know who I was as a man, and you know where my heart stood as a human being. I thank you for saving me. I thank you for every fire, every furnace that you pulled me out of. Father, for correcting my course back on your heading. Father, for making yourself known as the captain of the ship of my life. Father, I thank you for this technology, for the fact that we're able to reach other people with our life and with our learned experience and our testimony, and that we can use it to bring glory to your name. Father, I ask that you allow us to do this as long as you would have us do this, and not a day more. Father, to you, all of the glory and the honor forever. Amen.
Amen.
Oh,
All right.
love you.